two-part question for you.
No relation. Okay.
The first is in response to an article you wrote about healthcare and armchairs.
Yes.
And my first
This
question,
one, the left hated this one. Oh, yeah.
I was not a fan either. But
Good. I'm glad you came in.
yeah, thank you. So I was wondering, you said that if you had to go find a cheap X-ray or a cheap armchair, you would go to find an armchair.
If your life depended on, you have to find a chair today and buy it now.
Yes.
Versus you have to find an X-ray and buy it now. You would buy the armchair, yes.
Yeah. So my question is, part of what allows you to find a cheap armchair is that there's such a difference in quality.
Yes.
You know, you can go and buy a chair that's $5, probably going to break soon.
Yep.
But so with healthcare,
Which I said in the piece, actually.
yeah.
Yeah.
So with healthcare, if it's something you don't really want to go like some guy who's offering a $5 X-ray and say, hey, you want an X-ray? You know,
Why?
So, because if your life depended on it, I don't think that it would be a situation where you'd be willing to risk the.
So let me ask you this: why should an X-ray cost $200, $1,000 through an insurance company? It's literally a machine. An X-ray technician takes a picture of it and then sends it to a radiologist who actually looks at it. Right, or a doctor looks at it.
So I don't know enough about the healthcare industry to answer that. But
The reason I'm saying this is because what I'm saying is that one of the reasons these things are so much more expensive and so much less competitive is because you do not actually have a free market in healthcare. You have a heavily, heavily regulated market in healthcare. If you want cheap X-rays, you have to have a competition in the X-ray business. There is no competition in the X-ray business. You can't go and look up a list of X-ray companies that are going to give you an X-ray today and then call them for the lowest price. In fact, if you go into the doctor right now and you say, I want you to take a look at this X-ray, how much will it cost me? The doctor will tell you, I can't give you that answer. Right? The doctor will tell you, I'm going to have to talk to your insurance company, or maybe I'm going to have to run it through my system, and then I'll get back to you. Is there any other product in America where if you went into a restaurant and you said, how much is that cup of coffee? They said, drink the cup of coffee, we'll tell you later. Right? It's not a free market. The point that I was making with the armchair comparison is not, of course, that armchairs are morally equivalent to healthcare. Obviously, people need healthcare more. Okay? Perhaps a better comparison would have been bread, right? Because people need bread. Okay? But the reason that bread is cheap is because there's a free market in bread, not because government is subsidizing bread. So the point that I was making is if you actually want to increase supply, the point I was making in that column, and overall about this, is that healthcare is not a right. Healthcare is a commodity. And the difference between those two views is that if you think healthcare is a right, now you're going to use the government to cram down on doctors that they must serve you at a particular price, or cram down on taxpayers that they have to pay for a certain level of your care, or cram down on insurance companies that they can't be insurance companies anymore. They have to be health coverage institutes, essentially, which is when they say you have to accept pre-existing conditions, it's not an insurance company anymore. If you had a fire insurance company and they said you have to accept pre-existing conditions, it would just be called the piggy bank. Right? You'd burn down your house and then go get fire insurance. So the insurance companies don't work that way. So the point I was making is if you view it as a commodity, you're going to end up making it cheaper, more plentiful, more available, more competition. And the case in point of this is LASIK eye surgery, which is really unregulated. So LASIK eye surgery used to cost like $20,000 an eye. Now it costs $3,000, $4,000 an eye. The reason for that is because the insurance companies won't cover it and because there's a competitive market because it's really expensive, right? So lots of doctors now want to be optometrists or ophthalmologists and do this sort of work. This is why my wife's a doctor, so I'm very passionate about this particular topic. They call it the road, which is the successful doctors, radiologists, ophthalmologists, anesthesiologists, dermatologists. All those people basically charge cash and don't work through insurance companies. Right? The vast majority of them work in high-level private industry, and that's if you want to make a lot of money, that's what you do. And so what you're getting is in medical schools, if you're aiming for lots of money, you go into one of those four. You're not a primary care physician. You're one of those four. If you want more primary care physicians, what should you do? You should incentivize it. What Bernie Sanders and the rest of this crew want to do, they declare it a right, and then they take away the incentive. They declare it a right for you to have health care, and then they say to the doctor, you're going to work, and you're going to like it, and we're going to make you work. And this is why there's a black market in healthcare in Canada, there's a black market in Israel, there's a black market in the UK. It's why people come here from all of those places to get their surgeries. So here's the reality about socialized healthcare. Socialized healthcare is good for very, very basic things, right? It's like emergency care. The same way if you walk into an emergency room today and you need an x-ray, they'll give it to you regardless of whether you have insurance, which is true. This is why in California you have a major problem with illegal immigrants who don't actually have health care coverage walking in and to the ER and using it as their health care coverage. Basically, socialized medicine works the same way, except there is no upper echelon. They've made it equal at the expense of the upper echelon, meaning that if you now want a surgery, you got to wait 6 months online for it because we didn't give any incentive for people to become surgeons. Right? There's no cost-benefit analysis there. If you want more of something, you have to incentivize that thing. And when you take away the market, there's no incentive anymore. That's the answer as to why, that's the very long answer as to why I say healthcare is more like a chair than it is like the air or water, because somebody has to provide it to you. Thanks. Yeah.
I thank you for your answer. I respect your reasoning. I also respectfully disagree. Could I just say one thing? Later this week, Sean King is coming to campus, and I think that it's really important that...
Oh, I wish he'd come today. I would love to talk with Sean King.
I would have loved to see that, but I also want to say I think it's important that, given the current reality of the situation our country is facing, that you go and listen to a multitude of speakers from a multitude, a diversity...
I agree. I think everybody should go and listen to Sean King.
Yeah.
And then I think Sean King should debate me.